Today we're doing bite-sized workshop, and we call it bite-sized because it's only 30 minutes. You're in and you're out. You go about your day, but we always take something from these workshops. I'm also going to put this on the YouTube page later if you have to revisit and watch it again, and we'll share the resources. But with that, I'm gonna give the mic to Ashna. Probably over a year and a half ago, right, Ashna? And it's like,
Yeah, I
um,
think so.
and since then, I've been like so impressed by her. We chat often. I wish it was more often, but people
Yeah.
get busy, we get busy. But I've been so impressed, and I'm so grateful that she's here to share her expertise in the area and the burnout and a topic that's so important for all of us. And I'm sure most of us been through and will go through at some point. So it's just such an important topic. So let me know if you want me to share screen or need anything. The mic is yours.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much. Well, I've got some slides to share, but I will. Sorry, I'm just. Oh wow. I was just reading the chat here. I'm glad to hear, Amelia. So I mean, thank you, for introducing me, but just a little bit more about me. I do have over almost 10 years of customer success background. I recently switched to marketing, so I'm like a CS leader, former CS leader turned a marketer the moment. And I also do a lot of coaching outside, and specifically around career coaching and work-life balance and whatnot. So this is a very close topic to my heart. In no shape or form, I'm saying that I have cracked the code of how to prevent or manage burnout completely, but it is something that I've gone through with this multiple times, that there are certain things and aspects that I've researched and learned and tried to coach people on. So that's what I'm kind of trying to bring to the table today. Build a framework, which I'm going to talk about. Which this is a bite-sized workshop, so I'm going to go through some slides. It's just a few slides quickly, and then I also have a document where there's some reflection questions about the framework that I will pass it on to Priscilla, and then she can pass it on to you guys later on. So you know and then we'll have some Q&A at the end and whatnot. So that's the drill. But let me share my screen without further ado. Let me know if somebody can give me a thumbs up or something if you can see my screen. Okay, I am gonna yeah, I guess. Okay. So obviously I was being fancy with the name, so we went with the burnout of this. But so what is burnout? So if you look at on internet, it's the simplest sort of a definition is a form of exhaustion caused by constantly being swamped. It happens when we experience something, too much emotional, physical, mental fatigue for too long. Now, a lot of the time when you hear burnout, a lot of people will say, well, I'm burnout because I have too much on my plate. And I will tell you that 99.9% of the time, you are burnout not because you have too much on your plate. You're burnout because you're getting too less of a time to do what you find valuable or what you enjoy in your day to day. And that's where the burnout starts to kick in. So it's really the process of like, what do you feel or see versus what's actually causing it, which is why I came up with this iceberg theory. And to kind of really demonstrate that a lot of time when we talk about burnout, what we typically see is this just stress. We feel tired. We feel like, I've got too much on my plate and it's temporary. This will change, especially if you're in customer success or trying to be in customer success. And this customer facing roles, it's always like up and down. There is always some one week will be like, oh, I have time to breathe or maybe be a little bit proactive. And the next 5 weeks is you're going to be swamped. You don't even have time to breathe. Or there is, back-to-back calls, and then there is this fire happening, that fire happening. And I think, I mean, I'm speaking customer success or customer facing team, but after coming into marketing and after, working with other departments of organization, it's kind of the same everywhere. So and I've gone through with this so many times. I was burned out to the point that I would start typing an email, which would typically take me 5 minutes. And what ends up what happening is that I got so distracted by all these other things around me that 5 minute email turned out to be a 20-minute email. And then so if you think about it, just that with one example, 5 minutes versus 20 minutes, I'm just doing the same amount of work, but I'm adding more to it because I'm constantly distracted, or I am, there's a lot more underneath below the surface that I hadn't discovered. So I did that. And that's where I wanted to show this iceberg theory too. It's like along that below that stress that could be procrastination, which could have been, led to distractions that could have been, because of the lack of focus that you have, because there's, you have unclear expectations, there's misaligned values that you're constantly being, you're like, okay, I'm gonna fix this, but you keep feeling like this is temporary. And a lot of the times it's not. So that's what I wanted to really showcase with this theory is like we need to do that deeper work. And that doesn't mean that you need to just go in a Zen zone or meditate the heck out of it or whatever. It's just sometimes it's just you have to ask yourself some reflective questions that can help you, draw those boundaries that can help you say no and that can help you with this burnout and help you get out of it and create your system that can, help you to be better, basically. So basically, I mean, it kind of said it too. It's like what we end up doing is like we end up putting ourselves in a little box. So when we don't, take the time to uncover what's really below the surface, we end up putting ourselves in a little box. And the box can be, it's temporary. Oh, I'm just stressed. I just have too many accounts. I can't handle this, or like my managers keep on adding more work to my plate. And that's the box that we're putting ourselves when we're sometimes it has nothing to do with how many accounts you have. It has everything to do with I am not able to take a walk in the day, or I am not able to spend some time with my family, or I am not able to go exercise, or I am not able to go and have a spa day. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here. And those things causes burnout versus actually, you. So what can we do? It starts with mindset. Everything starts with your mindset. So you have to change your mindset. And this is the kind of like the mantra that I have, and I've had it for years now. It's like you have to start focusing on what you can control. So one of the exercise that when I'll go into the framework here in a second that I help people do is really just jot down, okay, if I am burnout, I'm gonna write down all the things, all the stressors. That's what I call them. I call them stressors. All the things that are causing this burnout, all the things that I'm feeling. And then next to it, I literally just write down, okay, can I control this? Or do I have control over this? Yes or no? If I have control over this, well, then you know that there's something you can do about it. If you don't have control over it, like the change of environments, I mean, come on, today, election, we don't really have control over that, even though, I mean, we probably all of us voted or whatever. There's a lot that we don't have control over. Or the change in our organizations, there's a lot that we don't have control over. But how we react to situation, how we take care of our mornings, how can we like where we draw our boundaries, those are the things that we do have control over. So we have to think about like the control, focusing on what you can control. So the question is how? And a simple framework, and I always call this like you have to build your own system. And my framework is called Unburn. And building your own system, and I always say this because building your own system means what's going to work for me is not going to work for Nancy or Amelia. Everybody's going to have to figure out your own rhythm, your own little thing with this. And that's why I call it you have to build your own system with this Unburn framework that I've put together. I'm just gonna look into the chat. Okay. So build your own system, and it starts with this zone zero, which I call it acknowledge and brain dump. I kind of talked about this already, but this is where you need to just acknowledge that okay, I'm burned out. Okay, I whether it's stress, whether it's too much on my plate, whatever that may be, I am not happy in my daily life, or I am, spending too much of a time doing X, Y, and Z. I'm lacking focus. I'm constantly distracted. I am burnout. You need to acknowledge that. That is the first step. And then you need to do is brain dump. And brain dump is what I called about those stressors. You need to just like if you just take a piece of paper and start writing. If you like journaling, do that. If you like writing or typing or whatever, like just brain dump. It's like, okay, what is in your own mindset, like what is causing that burnout? Is it the distraction? Is it, is it lots of accounts? Then start asking why. Like, why do I have lots of accounts? Like, okay, where am I getting distracted? if it's distractions, what are the things that are actually getting me distracted? Things start asking you a question like, if imagine yourself in the shoes of like you're just uncovering a lot of these, things that it's causing you a lot of this pain. So you start to just do a brain dump. And then we kind of get into this sort of a framework that I created, which is one, you is understand what you can control. And this is the exercise. Once you know your stressors, then you need to figure out, what do I control? What do I not control? Anything that falls into the not controlled bucket, forget about it. Literally, it's going to be hard. You can't change it. You can't control it. Move on, put it on the side. Start focusing on what you can control. And that would lead you to nurture recovery habits. So habits is going to be your key in all of this. The habits that you build, remember, habits don't just happen overnight. It takes time. So the habits that you build are what's going to help you moving forward. So anything that you had in your bucket of things that you have control over, you can start to think about what are the things, like what sort of, habits that can create recovery habits that can create that can help me. And an example is I used to lack focus, and that's why I was getting distracted. And that's why I was procrastinating, and that caused me burnout. So when I figured that out, then my thing was like, I needed to do something. I need to create habits that I can focus. I started meditating. I started, putting that into my kind of, again, you kind of go back and forth, like sometimes stuff. So, but the goal is like you need to know what those, recovery habits are, and you can start to. And then the other thing is like I put distractions away. So I knew like Slack, and when I'm in a meeting or something, Slack pops up, and I'm like, I want to look at it. Even just now, too, I wanted to look at the chat because it just popped up. Different situation, but like those are the things. Like when you understand that about yourself, then you know what those recovery habits are that you can create. And so what I do is I turn off all the notifications in my phone. I put my phone away as well when I'm, working or when I'm doing a focus work so that I can focus on those things. Those are the recovery habits. Now, if there's something like I get, fatigued and I get so tired, then you need to incorporate some little walks or something in your daily life. So I can sit here and tell you 50,000 things, but you are going to understand yourself more, like, more than anyone else. And this is why you have to build your system. So once you figure out what you can control, then you start to, create and nurture recovery habits. Then we go into building boundaries. Burnout cannot cannot be prevented or managed without you learn to build the boundaries. And building boundaries does not mean just saying no. You have to remember that saying no in a lot of the things, Priscilla, keep me posted about the time because I can go on and on and on talk about this though. Let me know if I'm going over. So building boundaries, so we always say it's like building boundaries and saying no, but it's like it's not saying no, it's educating other people. What are you saying yes to? And sometimes it just could be like self-care or putting yourself on, number one priority and whatnot. So that's where building boundaries. So make a list, like nurture habits. Okay, I need to build the boundaries. I need to communicate with my manager that I need to take a lunch hour in my day, period, non-negotiable. I can come in early. I can work late. I will touch up everything. I will make sure that everything is done. You will not see difference, but I need to have that break in my day. That's where you build the boundary. So things like that, you can build boundaries. And it's not just with work. Remember, this is the balance, the work-life balance. Boundaries also needs to be built at home too, with your life, with your personal life too. So then unplug regularly, which is a big part of it. Then you can, when was the last time you actually just, completely unplugged and give yourself time? Ask yourself that question. The question is maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago, then maybe it's about time that you need to kind of build that into your habits. Like, what can you do to unplug regularly? Sometimes an example is like, maybe you create a no digital zone in your weekly, habits or daily habits. Like after work for half an hour, I'm just going to go for a walk, no digital with me, no nothing. I'm just going to unplug. And it's like, you need to train your brain to like, okay, this is shutting down. This is, starting. It's like, you need to have those habits, reflect and realign. It's not something that you can just do once and it's going to be completely fine. You have to continuously reflect and realign where those things needs to change and happen. And then kind of rushing because I want to be mindful of the time. Lastly is normalize asking for support. This is something that every time I talk about burnout, a lot of the people don't do it a good job of. I was another person too, but you don't have to do it alone. There are so many majority of the people, especially working professionals, have gone through burnout. They know what it's like. So reach out and ask for help. Delegate if you're a leader, learn to delegate and and if you're not, then reach out to your leader, reach out to your family member and just and you don't need to be like, I need to, make this huge change in my life and I need to do this. No. Walk them through your journey. This is what I'm uncovering. This is what I want to do. I need your support. Can you help me with this? Ask, make it, normalize it. There's nothing wrong with it. I feel like you should definitely normalize it. So that's in a nutshell is my unburn framework. It's not something that you're going to be able to fix overnight, but it is something that you can implement in your life that sometimes, those stressors are going to help you because those stressors are going to be your reasons that you understand when burnout can trigger for you specifically. So when you understand, you can know that you can implement some of these things ahead of time so that you can prevent burnout rather than manage it after it happens. So I know I said a lot. I'm going to take a pause there. I'm going to stop sharing. I can see people, and I will, I guess, open it up for. Well, first of all, what do you guys think? Any questions? And I'm also gonna read the questions here. Yeah, Joey.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted on my mic. Thank you so much for just sharing that. I feel like just the balancing of everything is so needed after, what's going on just in life in general. And really what I wanted to ask you was what kind of language would you share, when you work with like a company and trying to establish these boundaries? I specifically like I work with startups. So we're
Yeah,
always just like 24/7
yeah,
all the time. And I feel like it's really hard for me to be like, like I need to take this time for my own sanity. Is there any like language that you use in particular that is like really helpful in building these things? And especially as like a minority, I feel like I struggle finding that stuff because I wasn't taught that. So
yeah,
like if you were to have this conversation, what are the things that you would say that may be helpful in starting to build these healthy boundaries?
yeah. No, that's an excellent question. Especially when it comes to workplace. I always, coach and tell people that well, I think in general, like when you're trying to set boundaries, when you're trying to talk to someone else about what you're going through or what where you need to make changes and whatnot, we often we often do this mistake of making it about us. We have to make it about them. And so when you talk about the language and stuff, it's like, okay, you're trying to set this boundaries. You're trying to say that, this is what's happening. If you focus too much on I am complaining, then that's what they're going to read that you're complaining. Instead, you have to go in there with more like, this is the issue. This is what's happening. Here's the solution, but I need your help. And that's why I need to draw this boundary here. And can we set a sort of a schedule in place so that we can check in with each other if you're talking to a leader so that I can continuously, update you on my updates and growth on this. And then we can continuously work on this. So it's more like you don't, and this is also like you don't need to figure it all out yourself, but you also need to show them that you have that leading by example kind of instinct that you can go in there with the solution, but you just need their support and advice on it. Does that help?
Oh, that helps plenty. That
Okay.
is really like helpful because I feel like there have been instances where I'm like, I can do this work. I need the time to
Yeah.
do this
Yeah.
work. So
So
I feel like
it,
that's and I've never felt like I feel like every time I'm making the excuse or like it feels like an excuse and it's like it's not an excuse because
yeah,
I'm trying. But so yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
that's a really helpful way to like view it in a way to like talk about that. So no, that was really helpful. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad. And I'll add two more things to that. And something I've learned too is like, it's never about what we say, it's always about what people are hearing. And I know like this is, when I heard this for the first time, I had like a little bit of a epiphany or whatever. But it's like a lot of the time, we always assume what we're saying is what people are hearing. But a lot of the time, especially when you work with leaders and other organizations and whatnot, it's always not the same case. So it's like how you say and what you're saying and how you're articulating and presenting. matters. So it's like you need to make sure that they're on the same page as you. And that's why like that additional discussion is necessary, and like take them along the ride. You don't need to do this alone. You need to take them along the ride. And I was going to tell you something else, but I forgot. But when it comes to me, I will let you know. But that's another thing that I wanted to just add. Is like it's not about what you say; it's about what they
No, I mean, hey, if you think about it, we can message on LinkedIn.
hear.
Thank you. That was really helpful.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Anyone else? When I was a first time manager, the first lesson that I've learned is, if you have 10 people in your team, sometimes you're telling one story in 10 different ways
Mhm.
because those 10 people have 10 different personas, and that's how it works. So I get where you're coming from. I was kind of the same with, when I was a first time manager too. It's like you want to make them feel, but it's like sometimes those you have done everything that you can. You've set the boundaries. Even your boss has, the fact that she's even employed in that organization says a lot. And I feel like she doesn't realize that. And I think that's where I'm not saying like we need to scare her, but what I'm trying to say is like when you're trying to ask, set the boundaries or just have a minute, it's like, hey, we've gone through this back and forth. It's not healthy for you. It's not healthy for our team or for me. I want to really be strict here. Strict is not the word. Like I want to be really transparent and honest with you here. So I'm gonna ask you openly. I need you to be completely open with me. Like, what are your expectations from us? Like, do you expect from us out of everything that happened and moving forward? Because I need to know that for us to have a healthy relationship going forward, or if there is other, if there's other sort of like situations and things that we need to form. Are you and the other thing for you, Nancy, is also like how is she performing with her KPI compared to other teams? Because if they're not, and if she's playing victim and putting blame on you, but at the same time her work is not showing the work that needs to be done, you as a manager need to bring that up. It is not okay to be, okay, if you can bring in all the ideas and everything, and we will consider, what we need to consider. If you have 5 members in the team, you cannot have 5 members' ideas all the time. And this is why my manager always, even my manager today says, like, you all are welcome to bring all the ideas, but that does not mean that we're going to accept all the ideas. I am open to listening to all the ideas and I will consider what I can. But as your manager, I am not guaranteeing you that I'm going to do and work on all of those ideas. We will decide as a team what is good for the team and what is good for the organization because that's why we're there to work. So, those are some of the things that you can kind of talk to them about is when you're setting boundaries, you need to also set and show them affirm. It's like I can coddle you, I can, reach out to you, I can make sure that your voice is heard. But at the same time, you also need to step up your game and do the work that you need to. Like if your work is showing, then I can try to be reasonable and I can change things around. If your work is not showing, then it's like, you cannot be talking about like just because your idea wasn't accepted, your work is, there's no kind of like correlation to that. So those are I mean, it's like, you can still continue to be like, I'm gonna ask you and then make sure like you can talk to the other team members too. But like these are some of the confrontation discussions that you can have, and it's healthy to have it. Don't feel kind of like that you may end up losing that person or whatever, like, you're doing everything right. I can even hear and sense it. It's you need to make sure that the other person, you understand what the other person's or expectations are, or are they really even happy? Like one of the questions that I've asked my team member when I was, managing team is directly, I need to know what you want. Like I don't want to know like this employee of this organization. I need to know what you want and where you see your growth. And a lot of the time, these kind of questions are good. Maybe this role is not right fit. Maybe there's a other team that they could be, benefit from, whatever. So, anyways, those are my just 2 cents.
I just started a position as a customer success manager in my company, and I really love the framework that you share with us. Is there any one of the points within the framework that you would suggest me as a new customer success manager to focus on first?
I mean, honestly, all of it to some point. I'm gonna say that, but hold on a second. Let me see if I can share this again. But I feel like the biggest thing is like normalizing asking for support as a new person is probably the biggest one. building boundaries, unplugging regularly, like building your own system is going to be the key here. But a lot of the time when you're new, you don't feel comfortable to ask for support. And I think like make sure you're okay with, there's no wrong questions. If you're joining an organization where you have teammates that have been there for years, it's, there some of the things is going to come natural to them that for you it's just going to be like, well, I don't know what it means. Like, it's just, and it's okay. Like it's a lot of the time I've even started a conversation with like, oh, okay, this might be a dumb question, but I'm still going to ask because I want to make sure I'm doing it correctly rather than doing it wrong. So, which I don't recommend make a habit of asking every questions like this because you also want to show confidence. But it's like when you're new, like ask as many questions. And even something that's not in the framework is for someone new that network internally. That's going to be the most powerful thing. And that could just be finding time with someone that sits in product, someone that sits in marketing, someone that's like customer success is connected to all departments. Find time with someone that sits in different department and be like, okay, what do you guys, tell me a little bit about like how does customer success helps you and what's your day-to-day look like? And you don't need to go in there and be like, well, how can I make your life better? But it can, you can have a conversation, and that is you're building network at the same time you're learning so that can help you. So those are two things I would say.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing.
Of course, of course.
My goodness, our time is never enough.
I know.
But I just want to mention that there's two things that you used here that has definitely been hitting harder for me lately, like normalizing and boundaries, right? Like even though you think boundaries, oh, we all know boundaries, right? But it's not something that we implement, and sometimes we don't implement in the right way. Like you think of boundaries as just saying no, or just removing yourself from the situation, or just like, and lately I've been like studying more and more and how being clear on what the things that you're not going to do and the things that you are going to do, even for your team. Those are the things that we're not going to do. Those are the projects we're not going to pursue. This is you setting boundaries for you, for your team, and making it clear, right? Because otherwise people are going to, oh, but I want to pursue this project, but I had this new idea. You're creating confusion and you're demotivating the team, right? Those are some of the things that I've been studying, how like boundaries can help you as a manager,
Yeah,
as a CS, and how like, okay, this is like healthy because then people are going to know exactly what are the fine lines, what I should not do, what are the things we're not pursuing in this company, in this team. And then I have the room, I have the mindset to pursue something else, right? Then I'm not running in circles trying to pursue the wrong thing. And
yeah,
yeah, when you mention boundaries, I'm like, yeah, I love this now. I've been loving boundaries because before I was like, oh, boundaries, I hate setting boundaries. I hate being the bad guy and say no. And I'd rather remove myself from the situation. I'm going to run away, that kind of thing. But now I'm like, oh, boundaries, this is good. This is clear. Yeah.
exactly. And that reminds me actually what I was going to tell Joey and I forgot earlier that just kind of came back to me is that it's this, and I think I'll end it here, but it's like there's something that I always coach people on that it's never about if you can and cannot do something. It's always about if you should be doing that right now. And that's a question you gotta ask yourself every single time. And if the answer is, I should not be doing this right now, that's when you know you gotta set the boundary.
Yeah, exactly. And as you all know, I think we've mentioned in the beginning, Ashna is also a growth coach. She has a ton of experience in marketing and customer success. So reach out, message her on LinkedIn, reach out to her if you have questions. She's an amazing person. I love like just talking to her all the time. Every time I talk to her, I leave the room a better person because she's amazing, and then I don't know how she does it. She does a ton, and she's part of so many communities, CS Exchange, CS Insider, and she's like a big part of those communities. She contributes a lot with a lot of content. So I appreciate her so much, but I appreciate that you're here also, that you took the time and to share with us the insight, something that is so important that we all go through every single day. And sometimes we just don't know how to deal with things, even the normalizing, right? Like make it normal that you take a walk, make it normal that you don't eat lunch in front of your desk, make it normal that you unplug on the weekend because then the guilt goes away, right? Like when
Yeah,
it's not normal, everything that's not normal, you feel guilty about it. So you don't want to feel guilty. You don't want to add that into everything that you have it already. So normalizing and boundaries are two big things that I'm taking away with me today that I need to remind myself all the time. Normalize and set boundaries.
I love that. I love that. I love for all the great comments in the chat too. Thank you guys. This is incredible and such a it's always good when you have interactive audience, you know, like then you're not just talking to the camera. So I love that. But I will share the document that I have put together. You know, that'll help you with there's just reflective questions for each of the steps of the framework that could help you to do a little bit of I'm big on journaling. So it's like if you want to like me and just want to start writing things down, this might be a good place to start.
Yeah. All right. If there are no more questions, I will post all of that, the notes and the video later on our Slack channel. We have a channel just for live sections. And let me know. We have like 3 more coming up, like not workshops, but they're fireside chats where you can come in and ask questions. So it'll be fun. We're gonna close out the year on a high note. And you always know
I
where to
love
find
that.
me on Slack. Thank you again, Ashna. Thank you again, all you. I know it's late for some of you. Thank you for joining and let us know if
Yeah.
you have any questions or need anything.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you
Thank you.
everyone. All right.